Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us here on our YouTube channel for episode number 775. Well, today we are heading out to Missouri, and we're going to speak with a very, very interesting and fun young lady named Teresa Yoder, who is now running a butcher shop, butchering people's wild game. She's serving in the military and has a very, very interesting story about how all of this developed. Really a fun interview. Looking forward to starting it for you right now. Joining me today is Teresa Yoder, and she is coming to us from Trenton, Missouri. She's going to be talking to us all about her National Proficiency nomination and award this past year, as well as her supervised agricultural experience. Teresa, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yep, good to be here.
Well, I'm glad to speak with you. Thank you very much for taking time away from your day to do the interview.
Well, it's not a problem. Had the day off anyways.
Oh, good. Good. Well, what I'd like to do is start off by just asking you a few questions about you, just so our audience can kind of know who they're listening to. Would that be all right with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Well, how old are you now?
I am 19.
Okay. And there in Trenton, do you live out on a farm? Do you live in town, or something kind of in the middle of those two?
I live on a farm. Yeah, right off 6 Highway.
Oh, okay. What kind of farming do y'all do there?
Well, we raise sheep and sell those.
Mm-hmm.
We have a butcher shop. We also have chickens, and we sell the eggs, and a milk cow, and we also sell the milk just kind of locally to friends.
Oh, okay. Very good. And is this a farm that's been in your family for some generations, or did it begin with your folks? Or tell me about that part.
It began with my parents. We moved here a couple years ago, and we got chickens, horses, and it just kept growing until it is what we have now.
Okay, very good. Where did you move from?
We moved from, a lot of different places. We used to live in Jamesport, then we moved to Spickard, and then Trenton, and now we're back here, which is close to Jamesport,
Okay.
but still have a 6.
Are all those towns in Missouri?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, so how long have you been part of the FFA?
Since freshman year.
Okay. So why did you join?
High school.
Gotcha. So why did you join this group? What made you want to be part of it?
Well, I remember having an ag class with Mr. Oakes my 8th grade year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was more like outdoorsy stuff, and that's something I really enjoyed. And
Okay.
someone asked me if I was going to be part of the FFA, and I'm like, what is that? And they said, kind of explained what it is, and I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be part of that.
Okay. So you said you enjoyed doing outdoorsy stuff. What kind of things do you like to do outdoors?
I like to, we have a garden. I love working in that. I love riding horses, going outside, playing on the four-wheeler, hunting, and pretty much anything that has to do with inside.
Yeah, good for you. That's great. Well, it sounds like you get to do that living on a farm and raising all those animals. I'm sure there's lots of chores to do and things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, let's do this. You mentioned one of your previous FFA advisors. I'd love for you to mention all of the FFA advisors you've had along the way, just to acknowledge them really quick.
All right, I've only had 2. I've had Cable Oaks and Brooke Kretz. They're both in Trenton. There were a few college. I think they just graduated college. They're trying to teach as well, so they came over to help out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember all of their names, but they were also really cool and helped out on the way.
Okay, very cool. Well, thank you very much for acknowledging them. I want to acknowledge a couple great sponsors of this show really quick, Teresa. And, of course, everybody, I'm going to talk about lacrossefootwear.com. Just absolutely thrilled to have them as a sponsor of this show. And here on our farm, we wear the Alpha Range boots every single day when we're out feeding, doing chores, irrigating, whatever it is we're doing. We've got Lacrosse footwear on our feet. We hope that you will as well. And, of course, I always love bringing up lacrosse when we do our FFA episodes because they're so proud to support the FFA by annually sponsoring 15 scholarships along with 100 jackets is part of the Give the Gift of Blue program. So please check them out over at lacrossefootwear.com. And, of course, Powder River Livestock Handling, everybody. Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment, they have been doing it for over 80 years now. We use their squeeze chutes, their panels right here on our farm in Idaho, and they are an absolutely great company. They have been developing the finest livestock handling equipment out here in the West with some of the craziest cattle you can ever hope to work with. And if they can work out here for those cattle, well, they can certainly work on your farm for yours. So let your local farm and ranch retailer know you'd like to have Powder River in their yard, and check them out at powderriver.com. All right, well, Teresa, interesting stuff so far. Now, I want to learn about your supervised agricultural experience and also what led you to being a National Proficiency finalist. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Okay. So the shop all started. It was when I was still little. Mom and Dad had a butcher shop, and I really enjoyed working in there. And then we moved all those times, of course. And then when I turned 16, I was looking for a job, and I told Mom, "Why don't we just do a butcher shop? I mean, you could teach me everything, and I really like working in there." So we started working on it a couple months before deer season, and we got it done just in time. I think it was, probably 2016 or 17 when we finally got it up and running. It was really small back then, and Mom really helped out a lot. She taught me everything I needed to know, and I used a lot of their old equipment they used to have. And now, 3 years later, this year was definitely our biggest year. We had over 400 deer, and we got new equipment, and it's pretty awesome in there now, I gotta admit. And I never started this because I didn't start this because I needed an SAE. It's something I've always wanted to do. And then all these opportunities started coming up. Like my ag advisors were like, "Okay, you can fill out this form, and you might be able to go to state," and things like that. I did that, and then I was first in state, which really took me by surprise. And then I was before I graduated, I filled out the national application. I was like, "There's no way I'm getting in. It's not that big of a deal." And then I was halfway through basic training, and I got a letter from my mom saying that I made it to nationals as a national finalist, and it was just like, wow, because I never intended. That's not why I started the shop. I never intended it to go that big. I just wanted to make a living. And it was really amazing for it to go that far.
Very cool. So then did you get to go to the national convention this past fall for that?
Yeah.
That is awesome. So is wild game processing exclusively what you do in the butcher shop, or are you doing livestock as well?
No, it's just, we do deer during the winter and then chickens during the summer. We don't do any big, like beef or pigs or anything like that.
Gotcha. So you're doing chickens. Do you we've butchered some chickens on my place, and man, that job, it can be tough. For me, it's always the plucking of the chickens, and we're dipping them in warm water first, and then trying to get all those feathers out. But I dream about having one of those automated pluckers. Do you have one of those?
Yes, we do.
Oh, that's
and it is such a time saver.
I would.
It is
think.
awesome.
And then I know there's a scalder you can get that keeps the temperature of the water just right, and it makes it a lot more scientific, I guess. Do you guys have one of those as well?
No, we have a scalder that it heats up the water by itself. Like, we don't need to have a burner under it or anything like we did when we started off.
Okay.
But you still kind of have to keep the temperature checked and things like that.
Gotcha.
But it works pretty good.
Well, that automated plucker, I have thought about buying one a million times and then renting it out when I'm done with it. I just have never, ever done it. But I'll tell you what, I
recommend doing it. It saves a lot of time.
Yeah, I would think so, too. A lot of time, a lot of frustration. Yeah, no question about that. Well, that's really interesting. Let's talk about the wild game side of it. So do people bring deer to you with no field dressing done at all, or do you require people to have them field dressed before they bring them in?
We like for them to be field dressed before they come in, but some people don't, and then we charge, I think it's $20 extra if they don't.
Okay.
They usually bring them field dressed, and then we skin them, hang them in the cooler, and then debone them and make the product they want. Okay.
Yeah, what's funny is I've always hunted deer and elk in Idaho and Montana, the two places I've lived where I've done some big game hunting. And to take a deer and elk into a butcher shop here, not field dressed, is just unheard of. And that's probably because we have to bring them so far out of the mountains down to where the butcher shops are. But then I went and did some deer hunting in Texas where my in-laws live, and all of a sudden they're like, "Nah, just take them in. You don't do anything to them, just take them in." And it was the strangest thing to me to take a deer in and not even have gutted it or do anything like that. But boy, what a pleasure for a hunter when that's all done for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. It's definitely a bit of a pain when you just shoot a deer, it's dark, and
Yeah.
you left your knife in the truck, and you're just like, oh, come on. But yeah.
So now, do you go out and hunt your own animals as well?
I haven't hunted since the shop started. So in the last 3 years, I haven't gone hunting. But my dad always goes, and it always makes Mom a little mad because she's like, we have enough deer to butcher. You going to bring us some more?
So while everybody else is out hunting and doing all that, you're working. That's your time to get busy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, what is it about working in the butcher shop and in processing meat for people that you like so much? What draws you to that?
I think it's mostly I get to spend time with the people I work with and my family. My family often comes out to help, and we always have such a good time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I know on opening weekend, I was out there all day. We just kept eating deer in all day. And I know on Saturday, I was with my mom. We spent the whole day together, and then on Sunday, it was with my dad. And it was just really cool to kind of spend time with them and bond with them and things like that.
Okay. Now, you mentioned basic training a moment ago. Are you in the military?
Yes, I am. I graduated this October from AIT.
Okay. Well, awesome. Good for you, and thank you for volunteering and being part of that and serving all of us that way.
Thank you.
You bet. So what branch are you in?
I'm in the Army.
In the Army.
I'm in the reserves.
In the reserves. Yeah. Okay. Now, is this something you did in high school? Like, were you part of the JROTC in high school?
No. I had no intentions of joining, and then a recruiter reached out to me, and we started talking, and I'm like, this is a pretty good opportunity. Might as well take it. And then, like, 3 weeks after I graduated high school, I shipped off.
Okay. So right after high school, you went to basic, and then you just completed your advanced infantry training. So is there going to be a specialty coming up for you?
I was talking to my sergeant at my unit, and he said I'll be going to Fox 5 soon, which is postal, because the unit I'm in is mostly postal, so I'm going to have to go and do that. But
and what does postal mean?
It's like when we get deployed, we'll mostly be working in forgot the word for it, post office, post office and stuff. Make sure the mail gets out to the soldiers, and the soldiers can write letters to their loved ones at home and things like that.
Interesting. That's what I assumed you meant, but I didn't want to make any assumptions. So that's interesting. You never think about all the logistics it goes just to support the entire effort, and so that would be something that you would be doing is processing letters in and out and making sure people can keep in touch.
Yeah.
That sounds like a very important job to me.
I think it's important, but a lot of people with different jobs are like, oh, I don't do much. But like, hey, I get you your letter. You just sit back.
Yeah, absolutely. That is really, really interesting. Well, last night, actually, so as we're doing this interview, last night, it was like freshman night for the high school in the town we live in, and my daughter's an 8th grader. She'll be going to high school next year. So we went and we looked at all the different things that she could possibly do and the things she's interested in, and I was blown away. I think the thing she's most excited to do is JROTC, which I'm not against it or anything like that at all. It's just not something that has ever been on the radar. And all of a sudden, she's like, this looks really interesting to me. I really want to try that out. So I think it might be wearing that uniform that's attracting her to that.
Yeah. The uniform, definitely once I got through basic and actually earned the right to wear it, it was definitely a good feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was never in what's it called, JRC?
JROTC.
Sorry, I was never in that, but I had a friend who was in it, and she said it's a really good program.
Yeah, that's good. Well, so tell me about basic training. Was it hard?
Yes. Not hard in the sense you would think. Like, it was hard physically, sure, but mentally it's definitely what got to everybody first. Okay. Because what drove me crazy is, like, if one person messed up or couldn't do it, then everybody got punished, not just that person. Mm-hmm. And it was definitely harder than I thought it would be.
So, had you been involved in sports and things like that throughout high school, or was this one of the first times that you had to do, say, this much running and calisthenics and things like that?
I was in volleyball 4 years during high school, and then I was in wrestling my senior year.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Well, good for
Yeah,
you.
it was volleyball and wrestling wasn't hard as basic, but I definitely got used to running a lot.
Yeah. Well, you're awesome. You're doing some cool stuff. You're butchering deer. You're wrestling. You're in the military. That's awesome. I want to hang out with you.
Thanks.
That is great. Well, I want to ask you. So going forward for you now, you're in the reserves. You have the butcher shop.
Mm-hmm.
So is developing this butcher shop and being a small business owner, is this something that you want to pursue, or do you have something else that you have in mind for going forward in your future?
No, mostly it's just working in the shop. I've been thinking about going to college, get some kind of degree there,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not 100% sure what it's going to be in yet.
Sure.
But yeah, other than that, I've just been planning on being a small business owner and running the shop.
Very cool. Well, that is great. Well, I'd love to ask your advice before we sign off, just for any other students who are looking at the military, and I guess any branch, but you can be biased towards the Army if you like. But for any branch, if they're considering the military and they're trying to decide whether or not to do it, what advice would you have for them on making that decision?
I would definitely do it. You make some great friends along the way, and halfway through it, you're going to hate it, and you're going to regret every decision you made leading up to that point. But once you're out, you're really going to miss it, and you're going to miss the people. And it's really a good opportunity, and yeah, I would definitely recommend doing it.
Very cool. Well, Teresa, this has been a pleasure. I really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Really have a pleasure doing this show and being here with you, and it was a great interview with Teresa. Hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.